Coming back for some brand new breaking news. MS Now has just learned that FBI Director Kash Patel may be out of a job in the coming months. 3 people with knowledge of the situation say President Trump and his top aides have grown tired of Patel and the unflattering headlines he's been generating recently, including using a government jet to visit his girlfriend and enlisting a SWAT team as her security detail. Joining us, MS Now Justice and Intelligence reporter Ken Delanian and MS Now White House reporter Laura Barone-Lopez. Both of them broke this story along with Carol Leonnig. Ken, give me more.
Well, Katie, I should say, first of all the qualifiers apply here. With Donald Trump and personnel decisions, you never actually know exactly what's going on. But we are being told that Kash Patel, the FBI director, is on increasingly thin ice. And the president is considering replacing him by the end of the year with Andrew Bailey, the former Attorney General of Missouri, who is acting now as co-deputy FBI director, along with Dan Bongino. And it's for all the reasons that you just said and others, the use of taxpayer resources, the flying his girlfriend around on the FBI jet, but also the premature tweets, including...
Okay, so here's what just happened, and this is absolutely devastating for Trump. Like, are you kidding me right now? 3 senior FBI officials have filed a lawsuit against Kash Patel, claiming he executed a White House-directed campaign of retribution. A campaign of retribution. Those are the exact words in the lawsuit. These are federal prosecutors alleging that Trump and Patel are engaged in political revenge against agents who investigated Trump, and the details in this lawsuit are absolutely damning. Patel allegedly told one of the fired agents that the Department of Justice and the White House ordered the firings. Patel allegedly said that the FBI tried to put the president in jail, and he hasn't forgotten it. Patel allegedly admitted that the firings were likely illegal, but he did it anyway to protect his own job. And all of this is documented in a federal lawsuit. All of this is being alleged in court. And come on, this is serious. This is about Trump using the federal government as a tool of political revenge. This is about a campaign of retribution against people who investigated Trump. This is about the FBI being weaponized for political purposes. This video is in paid partnership with Kalshi. Before we get deeper into today's Trump topic, I want to show you something that ties directly into it. My partner Kalshi is the largest legal prediction market in the US, and it lets you trade on real-world events. These are real money markets where you're trading against other people, like a stock market for events. Everything on Kalshi is a simple yes or no contract. If a contract is trading at 45 cents, that means the market thinks there's about a 45% chance of that outcome happening. If it resolves yes, it pays out $1 per contract, so entering at 45 cents more than doubles your money if you're correct. Since today's video is about Trump, I literally checked the Trump-related markets on Kalshi before filming just to see what people are trading on right now. You can build a position, scale in and out, and even earn interest on long-term trades before the market resolves. Kalshi is available in all 50 states, has over 1 million users, and has facilitated billions in trades. If you want to try it, Kalshi is giving you $20 when you trade $100. You can go to my partner link, https://kalshi.com/playersunlimited, and use code playersunlimited when you sign up. Thanks to my partner Kalshi, and now back to the video.
Related to the Charlie Kirk assassination and other investigations, that terrorist attack in Michigan where Patel got out in front of the investigation and tweeted about the arrests before the rest of the government was ready for that to happen. So Pam Bondi and Todd Blanche of the Justice Department have been annoyed with Patel for a long time, although they've publicly denied it when others have reported it. And now it's increasingly clear that the White House is as well. Now, our reporting this may actually enhance his job security, right? So it's hard to know exactly what's going to happen, but that is the reporting at this hour, Katie.
Yeah, no, we have seen situations where when it comes out that somebody is being considered for removal in order to prove that that Donald Trump does not have any chaos on his team or in his cabinet, has come out and said, no, of course not. I'm not considering anything. Let me play the president a little bit earlier today talking about Kash Patel during the Turkey pardon.
FBI Director Kash Patel has been very busy and doing a great job. Also, thank you, Kash.
Was that scripted? Was that always intended to be there, or was he responding to a question, Laura?
Look, I will say that right before we went out there for that turkey pardon, I had asked the White House for comment on this story. And so because sources had been telling me, those that were talking to Carol and Ken were also telling us that essentially this ouster could be closer than ever. And part of that is because Andrew Bailey would now be able to take that role after reaching this 90-day requirement for being in that position. And so the White House had responded to me right before this event started. White House spokesperson Abigail Jackson, not denying it outright, not calling this false, but she did say that the FBI Director Patel is a critical member of the president's team and that he's working tirelessly to ensure the integrity of the FBI. That's what Abigail Jackson, the White House spokeswoman, said. And then after that, I went out there for the turkey pardon into the Rose Garden. And I thought it was interesting that the president said, thanked him and said that he was doing a, quote, great job. And then there was some clapping and the president said, see, Cash, you have a following. So was it scripted? That's the timing when it happened. But this appears closer than it's ever been before because, of course, sources close to the White House have told me that they've definitely heard grumblings about Patel for all the reasons that Ken laid out.
So let's understand what happened here. On August 8, 2025, the FBI fired 3 senior agents, Brian Driscoll, Steve Jensen, Spencer Evans. All 3 of them were veteran agents. All 3 of them had decades of experience. All 3 of them had been involved in investigations related to Trump, and according to the lawsuit, they were fired because they investigated Trump. They were fired as part of a campaign of retribution. They were fired because Trump wanted revenge against people who had tried to investigate him. And the lawsuit names some very important people as defendants. It names Kash Patel. It names Attorney General Pam Bondi. It names the FBI. It names the Department of Justice. It names the Executive Office of the President. And according to the lawsuit, top Trump aides like Stephen Miller directed this purge. Stephen Miller, that's a really important name. Stephen Miller is one of Trump's most influential advisors. Stephen Miller is known for hardline immigration policy. Stephen Miller is known for being willing to use executive power aggressively, and according to this lawsuit, Stephen Miller was involved in directing the purge of FBI agents who investigated Trump. Now here's the really damning part. According to the lawsuit, Patel told fired agent Brian Driscoll that the Department of Justice and the White House ordered the firings. Patel allegedly said, the FBI tried to put the president in jail, and he hasn't forgotten it. That's an admission. That's Patel admitting that this is about revenge. That's Patel admitting that Trump is angry at these agents because they investigated him. That's Patel admitting that the firings are retaliation. And Patel allegedly admitted that the firings were likely illegal. Patel allegedly knew that what he was doing violated federal law. Patel allegedly knew that he was violating the constitutional rights of these federal employees, but Patel did it anyway. Why? Because he was ordered to by the White House, because his job depended on it, because Trump wanted it. And Patel admitted all of this to the agent he was firing. And here's what's really important. The lawsuit was filed on September 10th, 2025. The firings happened on August 8th, 2025. So this lawsuit was filed just over a month after the firings. This lawsuit is based on recent events. This lawsuit is documenting something that just happened. This isn't ancient history. This isn't something from years ago. This is something that happened just weeks ago. This is Trump's second term in real time. This is Trump purging the FBI in real time. This is Trump retaliating against investigators in real time, and it's all being documented in federal court. And the lawsuit is claiming that the firings violated federal law and the Constitution. The lawsuit is claiming that these agents were fired in violation of their constitutional rights. The lawsuit is claiming that they were fired in violation of whistleblower protections. The lawsuit is claiming that they were fired in retaliation for their official conduct. All of that is illegal. All of that is unconstitutional. All of that violates federal law. But according to the lawsuit, that's exactly what Patel did. That's exactly what Trump ordered. That's exactly what the White House directed. And now it's all coming out in federal court. And here's what's important about the agents who were fired. Steve Jensen oversaw domestic terrorism operations. Steve Jensen was involved in the January 6th investigations. Steve Jensen was involved in investigating the Capitol riot, and he got fired because Trump doesn't like that investigation. Trump doesn't like the January 6th investigations. Trump doesn't like people investigating January 6th. So Trump and Patel fired him. They fired him because he investigated January 6th. They fired him because he was involved in domestic terrorism operations that might have implicated Trump supporters. They fired him as part of a campaign of retribution against anyone who investigated Trump or Trump supporters. So you've got this situation where Trump is firing FBI agents who investigated him. Trump is firing FBI agents who investigated the Capitol riot. Trump is firing FBI agents who were involved in cases that made Trump look bad or made Trump supporters look bad. And Trump is doing this as part of what the lawsuit describes as a campaign of retribution. A campaign of retribution. That's the language in the lawsuit. That's the allegation. That's what the agents are claiming Trump is engaged in, and the lawsuit is filed in federal court. The lawsuit names Trump aides like Stephen Miller as having directed the purge. The lawsuit documents Patel's alleged admissions. The lawsuit is a serious legal challenge to what Trump and Patel did. And this is going to be a major story heading into the 2026 midterms. Democrats are going to use this lawsuit as evidence that Trump is engaged in authoritarian practices. Democrats are going to say that Trump is using federal agencies to punish his enemies. Democrats are going to say that Trump is violating the Constitution. Democrats are going to say that Trump is destroying the rule of law. And voters are going to see the details of the lawsuit. Voters are going to see that Patel allegedly admitted the firings were illegal. Voters are going to see that Trump aides allegedly directed the purge. Voters are going to see that the FBI agents are alleging a campaign of retribution. And voters are going to have to decide whether they think that's acceptable. Voters are going to have to decide whether they think Trump should be allowed to do this. Alright, so let's really dig into the details of this lawsuit and what it reveals about how Trump and Patel are operating in the second term. Because the allegations in this lawsuit are extremely serious. The lawsuit is not just alleging that some agents were fired. The lawsuit is alleging that there was a coordinated campaign of retribution directed by the White House. The lawsuit is naming Stephen Miller as having directed the purge. The lawsuit is claiming that Patel was following orders from the White House and the Department of Justice. The lawsuit is documenting Patel's alleged admissions about the firings being illegal. This is not some vague allegation. This is a specific, detailed lawsuit with named defendants and alleged admissions from Patel. Now let's think about what this means. If the allegations are true, if Patel did tell Driscoll that the White House ordered the firings, if Patel did say that the FBI tried to put Trump in jail and he hasn't forgotten it, if Patel did admit that the firings were likely illegal, then you've got documented evidence of a campaign of retribution. You've got documented evidence of abuse of power. You've got documented evidence of violations of federal law. And that's really serious. That's the kind of thing that could result in criminal charges. That's the kind of thing that could result in convictions. That's the kind of thing that could result in jail time. But here's what's important. The lawsuit is a civil lawsuit. The agents are suing for damages. The agents are suing to get their jobs back. The agents are suing for compensation. The agents are not filing criminal charges. The agents are not asking for Patel to go to jail. The agents are suing in civil court. But that doesn't mean that criminal charges can't also happen. That doesn't mean that prosecutors can't investigate. That doesn't mean that the Justice Department can't bring criminal charges against Patel or against White House aides. The civil lawsuit is one thing, but based on the allegations in the lawsuit, there could also be a criminal investigation. There could also be criminal charges. There could also be criminal convictions. And here's what's important about Stephen Miller being named as having directed the purge. Stephen Miller is one of Trump's most influential aides. Stephen Miller is Trump's chief immigration advisor. Stephen Miller is known for being willing to use executive power aggressively. Stephen Miller is known for being willing to push the boundaries of what the executive branch can do, and according to the lawsuit, Stephen Miller was involved in directing the purge of FBI agents. That's a really important allegation. That means that Trump's top aides, not just Patel, but Trump's top aides in the White House, were involved in directing the firing of FBI agents. That means that this was not just Patel acting on his own. This was a White House coordinated campaign of retribution. And here's what's really important about Attorney General Pam Bondi being named as a defendant. Pam Bondi is Trump's Attorney General. Bondi is running the Justice Department, and according to the lawsuit, the Justice Department was involved in directing the firings. According to the lawsuit, the Department of Justice ordered Patel to fire these agents. So you've got the FBI director being ordered by the Justice Department to fire agents. You've got the FBI director being ordered by the White House to fire agents. You've got the Attorney General being involved in directing the firing of FBI agents. That's a complete politicization of the Justice Department. That's a complete violation of the separation between politics and law enforcement. And here's what Patel allegedly said to Driscoll. Patel allegedly said that the FBI tried to put the president in jail, and he hasn't forgotten it. That's an admission of political motivation. That's an admission that this is about revenge. That's an admission that Trump is angry at these agents because they investigated him. That's an admission that the firings are retaliation. And then Patel allegedly admitted that the firings were likely illegal. Patel allegedly acknowledged that these are violations of federal law. But Patel did it anyway. Why? Because his job depended on it. Because Trump wanted it. Because the White House ordered it. So you've got Patel allegedly admitting that what he's doing is illegal, but doing it anyway because his job depends on it. Now think about what that means. Think about the incentives. If you're an FBI director and the president tells you to fire agents and you know that if you don't fire them you're going to get fired, then you're going to fire them, even if you know it's illegal, even if you know it violates their rights, even if you know it's unconstitutional, because your job depends on it. That's the threat. That's the coercion. That's how Trump operates. Trump creates an environment where people are expected to do what he wants, even if what he wants is illegal, because if they don't, they're going to lose their job. And that's exactly what allegedly happened with Patel and the FBI. And here's what's important about the agents who are fired. These are not low-level agents. These are senior agents. These are agents with decades of experience. Brian Driscoll, Steve Jensen, Spencer Evans. These are experienced, professional law enforcement officers. And they were fired because they investigated Trump. Steve Jensen was involved in the January 6th investigations, the Capitol riot investigations. Trump doesn't like those investigations. Trump has been attacking those investigations. Trump has been trying to discredit those investigations. And he fired the agent who was overseeing domestic terrorism operations as part of those investigations. That's retaliation against law enforcement for investigating something Trump doesn't like. And this is creating a really dangerous situation in the FBI. FBI agents are watching what's happening to these agents. FBI agents are seeing that if you investigate Trump, if you participate in investigations against Trump, if you pursue evidence that might make Trump look bad, you're going to get fired, you're going to lose your career, you're going to be marked as disloyal. So FBI agents are going to be very careful about what they investigate. FBI agents are going to be very careful about pursuing evidence that might implicate Trump. FBI agents are going to be very reluctant to follow the evidence if the evidence points to Trump, because they know what happens if you do that, you get fired. And the lawsuit is going to expose all of this. The lawsuit is going to put all of these allegations in the public record. The lawsuit is going to require the Trump administration to respond to these allegations. The lawsuit is going to require Patel to testify. The lawsuit is going to require White House aides to testify. The lawsuit is going to require documentation. The lawsuit is going to require depositions. And all of this is going to be public. All of this is going to be part of the public record. And voters are going to see it. Media is going to cover it. The story is going to be out there. Okay, so let's break down what this lawsuit means, what the implications are, and what it tells us about what's happening in Trump's second term. First thing, this lawsuit is going to be extremely damaging to Trump. This lawsuit alleges that Trump is engaged in a campaign of retribution against federal employees who investigated him. This lawsuit alleges that Trump is violating the Constitution. This lawsuit alleges that Trump is violating federal law. This lawsuit alleges that Trump's top aides directed the purge. This lawsuit is not going to be good for Trump's public image. This lawsuit is not going to be good for Trump's approval ratings. This lawsuit is going to feed into the narrative that Trump is acting like an authoritarian. Second thing, this lawsuit is going to expose the White House's involvement in directing the firing of FBI agents. According to the lawsuit, Patel admitted that the White House ordered the firings. According to the lawsuit, Stephen Miller directed the purge. According to the lawsuit, the Justice Department was involved. So the lawsuit is going to reveal that this was not just Patel acting on his own. The lawsuit is going to show that this was a coordinated White House campaign. The lawsuit is going to show that Trump's top aides were involved. The lawsuit is going to show that this goes all the way to the top of the Trump administration. Third thing, this lawsuit is going to raise questions about FBI independence. If the FBI director is firing agents because the White House tells him to, if the FBI director is firing agents because they investigated Trump, then the FBI is not independent. The FBI is not following the law. The FBI is following Trump's orders, and that's a fundamental problem. The FBI is supposed to be independent. The FBI is supposed to investigate crimes based on evidence. The FBI is not supposed to be subject to political control. But if Patel is firing agents because Trump wants him to, if Patel is firing agents because the White House ordered him to, then the FBI is not independent. Fourth thing, this lawsuit is going to be a major issue in the 2026 midterms. Democrats are going to use this lawsuit as evidence that Trump is engaged in authoritarian practices. Democrats are going to say that Trump is using federal agencies to punish his enemies. Democrats are going to say that Trump is violating the Constitution. Democrats are going to point to the lawsuit. Democrats are going to say, look, Trump's own FBI director allegedly admitted that he was firing agents because Trump wanted revenge. Look, Trump's White House allegedly ordered the firing of FBI agents. Look, Trump's aides allegedly directed the purge. And voters are going to see these allegations. Voters are going to have to decide whether they think that's acceptable. Fifth thing, this lawsuit could lead to criminal investigations. Right now, this is a civil lawsuit. But the allegations in the civil lawsuit could trigger criminal investigations. Federal prosecutors could look at these allegations. Federal prosecutors could investigate whether Patel committed crimes. Federal prosecutors could investigate whether White House aides committed crimes. Federal prosecutors could investigate whether this was a violation of the civil rights of the fired agents. Federal prosecutors could investigate whether this was an abuse of power, and there could be criminal charges, there could be criminal convictions, there could be jail time. The civil lawsuit could lead to criminal liability for Trump aides. Sixth thing, this lawsuit is going to require discovery. The Trump administration is going to have to produce documents. The Trump administration is going to have to turn over emails. The Trump administration is going to have to turn over communications between Patel and the White House. The Trump administration is going to have to turn over communications between Stephen Miller and other aides, and all of these documents could be very damaging to Trump. All of these documents could show that the White House ordered the firings. All of these documents could show that this was a campaign of retribution. All of these documents could be released to the public. All of these documents could be covered by the media, and the story is going to get worse for Trump. Seventh thing, this lawsuit is going to require depositions. Patel is probably going to have to testify. Patel is going to have to answer questions under oath. Patel is going to have to explain why he fired these agents. Patel is going to have to explain his conversation with Driscoll. Patel is going to have to explain what he meant when he said the FBI tried to put Trump in jail. Patel is going to have to explain why he admitted the firings were illegal, and Patel's testimony could be really damaging. Patel could contradict the Trump administration's position. Patel could confirm the allegations in the lawsuit. Patel could say things that get him in trouble. Patel could end up facing criminal charges based on his own testimony. Eighth thing, this lawsuit is going to put pressure on Trump's allies to defend him. Republicans in Congress are going to have to decide whether they want to defend Patel. Republicans in Congress are going to have to decide whether they want to defend Patel. Republicans in Congress are going to have to decide whether they want to defend Patel. Republicans in Congress are going to have to decide whether they want to defend the firing of FBI agents, and if they defend Trump, if they defend Patel, if they defend the firing of FBI agents, they're going to be on record as defending a campaign of retribution. They're going to be on record as defending violations of federal law. They're going to be on record as defending violations of the Constitution, and that could hurt them politically in the 2026 midterms. Ninth thing, this lawsuit is going to amplify the debate about the rule of law. This lawsuit is going to raise fundamental questions about whether Trump is above the law. This lawsuit is going to raise questions about whether the president can fire federal employees for political reasons. This lawsuit is going to raise questions about whether the president can retaliate against federal employees for investigating him. This lawsuit is going to raise questions about whether the Constitution still means something. This lawsuit is going to raise questions about whether we still have a rule of law or whether we're becoming an authoritarian state. 10th thing, the outcome of this lawsuit is going to matter. If the agents win, if the courts rule that Patel violated federal law, if the courts rule that the firings were illegal, then there are limits on presidential power. Then there's protection for federal employees. Then the rule of law still exists. But if Trump wins, if the courts rule that Patel was within his authority, if the courts rule that the president can fire federal employees for any reason, then there are no limits on presidential power. Then there's no protection for federal employees. Then the rule of law is essentially dead, and the outcome is going to depend on the judges. The outcome is going to depend on whether the judges are willing to stand up to Trump, or whether they're going to let him do whatever he wants. So when you see this lawsuit, understand what's really happening. Understand that Trump is allegedly engaged in a campaign of retribution against federal employees. Understand that the White House allegedly ordered the firing of FBI agents. Understand that this is an attack on the independence of federal law enforcement. Understand that this is an attack on the rule of law. Make sure you're subscribed because this lawsuit is going to be a major story. The discovery phase is going to reveal more damaging information. The depositions are going to be explosive. The ruling is going to be crucial, and we're going to be covering this closely as it develops. This is one of the most important legal cases about Trump's presidency. This is going to shape what happens next.